out of his corruption trials. And the Israeli opposition, which is completely bankrupt from the beginning, it never opposed the war on Gaza, and it completely made its support for Netanyahu in the war on Iran. So it is completely bankrupt now when it tries to say it defends the rule of law, while they support the policy of the government on all the important fronts.
And now to Afghanistan, where Kabul is facing the biggest water crisis in its modern history. That's the dire warning from the head of the local water and energy office to the capital city population of 7 million.
We have a severe shortage of drinking water in Kabul. Water supply from government pipelines at our homes is only available for half an hour to an hour a day. People store their water in cans and then they use it all day. So Kabul is about to run out of water. Limited filtration plants from the government are installed to supply clean drinking water to the residents. All companies that supply clean drinking water to your door are private entities. These companies use chemical disinfectants in their water tankers before home delivery. That is expensive too, and not everyone can pay for small filters to be installed at home or large water treatment plants for a community.
Our drinking water is not safe. The water in Kabul is especially polluted. Every day we receive a large number of patients of all ages. Half of them are sick due to contaminated drinking water. What we need urgently is to stop sewage lines mixing with drinking water supply lines. No attention was paid by the authorities to this critical issue in the previous government. That is the only way to control these diseases.
The deteriorating situation was outlined in the latest report by the Mercy Corps humanitarian organization. It says up to 80% of Kabul's groundwater is unsafe and poses a risk to human health. Getting water in Kabul is a daily battle for most people, with people queuing up for hours to get clean supplies from private tankers or to buy bottled water. It's estimated some households are spending up to 30% of their entire income on the vital resource. Locals shared their thoughts on the worsening situation.
Many people come here and join a long queue in the morning. By evening, some of them leave with water, but many leave without even a cane of water.
Each day, local residents, people of this street, shopkeepers, and worshippers in the mosque wonder all the day how to get a single can of clean drinking water.
In the past, people were struggling to feed their children. Now they don't know how to get clean drinking water. They have bread to eat, but no clean water to drink.
Some people blame the 2 decades of U.S. military presence in the country for causing part of the problem. It's thought that toxic chemical dumping and the burning of military waste may have led to groundwater contamination. We also again heard the head of the local water and energy office say that he's not ruling out such a possibility.
The Americans and allies were here for 2 decades, and our 2 main military air bases in Bagram and Kandahar were in their control, so it might be true that their massive use and dumping of ammunition and explosives have affected our drinking water resources. It is established fact that during the 2 decades of foreign forces in Afghanistan, the government's mismanagement and incompetence was worse than ever. There was complete chaos, and the government was enjoying perks and benefits from their masters. They never paid attention to what the Americans were doing here with our resources and development work. Americans were doing everything they wanted to do here, so you can't rule out the possibility of U.S. involvement in turning our drinking water unsafe.
That's all for this hour. Thanks a lot for watching RT International, and we hope you have a great day.
couldn't figure this one out. Which sport combines elements of gymnastics, theatre, and an icy canvas? Well, it is, of course, figure skating. It wasn't that hard. But it's not just a sport, though. It can also be a real theatrical show. And I know just the Olympic champion to tell us more. So I better get my skates on.
You probably already know this if you're watching this particular show, but Russia is probably the most castigated country economically in the world. And yet, they're doing well. Quite well, in fact. How'd they do that? You gotta ask. Well, I'm gonna talk to the man who's in charge, per se, of the Russian economy, and you're gonna get to hear him. This is the Sanchez effect. Hey, let's do this. The best way to get to know a country's condition is to just get out there, right? Go see it. It's, you know, it's not so much about statistics. It's not so much about numbers. It's about people, right? People tell the best stories. That's what I've learned all my life as a journalist. And since I've been here in Moscow, I have spent a ton of time outside, walking the streets, seeing the place with my own eyes, getting to know just everyday Russians. I got some video for you. Here's a typical Moscow streets that you're about to see. This is what you see every day. When I go jogging in the morning, almost every morning, and when I walk to dinner at night.
Yeah, well, that was RT. We're back. Hey everybody, time has run out. We are starting. My name is Sidney Winston. I'm here today to bring you a point of view that I hold very, very dearly. It is presented by Senator Lindsey Graham, I believe on the Senate floor on the 23rd of June. That's three days ago. And I want to have you have a listen to this. It is my opinion, my view, that as long as the mullahs or the ayatollahs are still in control of Iran, they are winning. They are winning, essentially. Hamas is still in control of the population, or whatever control they have means they're still there, they're still governing, they are winning. So Lindsey Graham, he really lays it out. Let's begin.
Thank you. I'd like to be recognized to make some comments about the conflict we're watching unfold on our television between Iran, Israel, and now the United States. Someone asked me, what is this talk all about? I think a good title would be, what is this all about? To the American people, what is this all about? Let me tell you what it's all about. It's all about religion. A fanatical strain of Shiism is now in charge of Iran, and they have three goals: to purify Islam, and about 80% of Islam is Sunni. Saudi Arabia is the center of that part of the religion. To purify Islam in the image of the Ayatollah, to destroy the Jewish state, to drive us out of the Mideast because we're infidels. This is not a democracy, it's a theocracy. And if you got any time on your hands, go on the internet and check out the theological basis of this regime. You would understand why Israel has to get this right as well as we do. But it was not always that way. Iran is not inherently a radical group of people, a radical place. As a matter of fact, it is a very cultured place. It used to be one of the real pearls of the Mideast. So before 1979, Iran shared intelligence, had economic ties and military cooperation with Israel and the United States. This is from 1950, where Ben Gurion, the founder, the first president of Israel, is talking to an Iranian diplomat in Jerusalem. And Iran had a very vibrant Jewish population. So it's not always been this way. So what happened? They had a revolution. In 1979 to 1981, there was an uprising in Iran that led to the installing of the Ayatollah as the leader of Iran, the first Ayatollah, Khomeini, and now we're on the second one, Khomeini. Now, what is this thing all about? These are students pouring over the U.S. Embassy. And our embassy personnel, 50 American hostages, were held for 444 days by these nut jobs. They were subjected to intense physical and psychological torture throughout their captivity, such as mock executions, beatings, solitary confinement, and very bad living conditions. So, this is what they did when they took over. They came after us, held our people hostage, and treated us very brutally. In 1984, the United States made Iran a state sponsor of terrorism under U.S. law because of the way the Iranian regime under the Ayatollah was conducting himself. They were wreaking havoc throughout the region, and they were doing things against Israel and the United States that justified their designation in 1984 as a state sponsor of terrorism, and that has not changed. Now, why are they state sponsor of terrorists? Because they're terrorists, and they support terrorists. Exactly. Hezbollah, $700 million we project was given to Iran by Hezbollah. It's almost their entire budget. They're a terrorist group, was mainly in Lebanon by Hezbollah, the Shia branch of the tree. It's almost their entire budget. Hamas, they're a the October 7th attack against Israel. Israel projects that 93% of Hamas's military budget came from Iran. And we have the Houthis. All of their missiles and rockets came from Iran. We've got Shiite groups in Iraq funded by Iran. Yep. Now, why are they a state sponsor of terrorism? Because they sponsor terrorism all over the world, and they did it with petrodollars from the Iran nuclear deal and other sources of revenue, which was a really bad idea, and that's why Trump pulled out. Here's the reporting over the period here. Hamas-Iran alliance. Captured documents expose decades-long terror funding. So when Israel began to liberate Gaza from Hamas and drive out Hamas terrorists, they found a treasure trove of documents showing the history between Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran, suitcase stuffed with cash. U.S. flow of funds to Yemen to help the Houthis. What else have they done other than funding terrorist groups? They've threatened to kill American officials. President Trump, Brian Hook, General McKenzie, Robert O'Brien, Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, all these people involved in the Soleimani attack. Now, why did we go after Soleimani? Because he was the leader of the more radical elements of their military that had been targeting Americans, and he was planning to attack our forces in Iraq, and Trump took him out. 1983, Beirut barracks bombing, Hezbollah supported by Iran. Khobar Towers bombing in Saudi Arabia, terrorist group supported by Iran. That's why they're terrorists. They have been coming after our interests. They've attacked our shipping in the Red Sea, the Houthis have, and they couldn't fire one missile without Iranian support because that's where all their rockets come from. Now, some cast of characters here. The recent new president was sworn in Iran. during the swearing in of the Iranian president, the crowd started chanting, "Death to America, death to America," during the swearing in of the new president not long ago, July 30th, 2024. Not quite a year ago. So people wonder what they're up to. Let me tell you what they're up to. They're up to enacting a religious agenda that has no place for anybody but them. If you're a Christian, they want to destroy your faith. If you're Jewish, they want to wipe you off the planet. And if you're a Muslim and you don't agree with them, which most don't, they want to take over the entire faith and make you bend a knee to their view. These people are religious fanatics. What is this all about? Religion. Do you want any of these people to have a nuclear weapon? I don't.
I don't.
They're religious Nazis.
Yes, they are. Religious Nazis.
Are there any telltale signs that may tell us what they're up to? Do you really have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out? This is a missile in Iran. In Hebrew, it says death to Israel. This is the friggin' missile they took a photo of. In Hebrew, said death to Israel. Wonder what they want to do with that missile. If you're confused about this regime, you should not be allowed to drive, because you're a danger to yourself and others. If you think this is not our conflict, you've missed a lot. You've been like sleep at the switch since 1979. You don't know anything about these people. You're talking gibberish. If you don't think this is our concern, look what they've done. They've attacked Americans. They have American blood on their hands. They're trying to build a nuclear bomb, and one of the targets is us. How do I know that? Because that's what they say. Last July, they were chanting death to America while they were swearing in the president. We don't do that here. Why? Because we're not crazy. These people are crazy. The Iranian people are not, but the people ruling the place are fanatical religious Nazis. And if you don't think it's our concern, you really have missed a lot. You need to study before you talk. And if that's not enough, the missile that says death to Israel, let's see, when was this? 2015. Amid nuke talks, ayatollah says death to America. This is during the negotiations that Obama had. So in 2022, they had 95 pounds of highly enriched uranium at 60%. Is there a commercial purpose for uranium enriched at 60%? No. In 2025, 3 years later, they have 900 pounds of this stuff. So clearly, they're not stopping their enrichment program. They're accelerating it, and they're enriching it at a level that has no commercial purpose. They actually have one reactor in Iran. The fuel for that reactor comes from Russia. They haven't taken 1 gram of their enrichment program to run the peaceful reactor they claim they want. And to run a reactor, you need to enrich between 3.5% and 5%, not 60%. Now, weapons grade enrichment is 90%. 60 to 90 is like walking across the street. So if you can't figure out what they've been up to, again, you should not be allowed to drive. They're trying to build nuclear weapons. They're making material consistent with a bomb, not a peaceful nuclear power plant. They chant death to America. They chant death to Israel. They kill their own people. They're the largest sponsor of terrorism on the planet. They've been that way since 1979. Wonder what they want to do. The Ayatollah's nuclear ambitions have been spread and said for decades now.
Decades.
I take him serious. Hitler wrote a book. Nobody believed he wanted to kill all the Jews. They should have.
And Hitler's not in power anymore.
A master race. People should have taken him seriously. They wrote it off as just talk. They excused Hitler's provocative behavior, saying he's just saying these things. Well, we know that didn't work out too well. Last month was the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, the Nazi regime. One of the centerpieces of the Nazi regime was to kill the Jewish people. They put the Jewish people in concentration camps, gas chambers, and they tried to extinguish an entire race of people, our Jewish brothers and sisters, killing 6 million. Just a few years ago, the Jewish people got back to the numbers before the war.
Okay, so just let me say this. Hitler tried to kill the Jews. Hitler had a book which said he's going to kill the Jews, and he spoke up in his speeches, he's going to kill the Jews. The world went to war against Hitler, and at the end of the war, Hitler was no more. In this case, the war is the US and Israel, and presumably everybody who didn't participate, all went to war against Iran. The war stopped, and the Ayatollah, who we went to war against, is still in charge. There's a major difference between Hitler and the Ayatollah, isn't there? No, there's not. They're both trying to kill the Jews, but the Ayatollah is still in charge. That's a major fail, in my view.
80 years later, we're having a discussion about what should we do as civilized people regarding Iran. I tell you what we should do. We should do something different than we did with Hitler. Because if we do the same old thing, there goes Israel and eventually us. So their nuclear ambitions are not to build peaceful nuclear power plants and fuel them. They're making, their enrichment program is designed to make bombs. They intend to use these bombs because they're religious fanatics. Does anybody doubt if Adolf Hitler had a bomb, he would have used it? If you doubt the Ayatollah would not use a bomb against the state of Israel, you don't understand his religion. What drove Hitler? A sick, twisted, distorted view of the master race. These people want a master religion, not a master race. They want to dominate the world religiously. That's what they're all about. They export terrorism in the name of religion. They support groups that want to take down secular regimes. They want a master religion like the Nazis wanted a master race. And let me tell you what our friends in Israel are saying. Hell no. Once is enough. So what should Israel do?
That's what we should do.
Here's what Israel should do. They should fight back to the American people. What would our country do if there was one missile shot into South Carolina or Alabama from a foreign power that killed our citizens? Everybody in South Carolina and Alabama would be wanting to end the terror and go after the people who did it. And it would be the entire nation. Why should we expect Israel to tolerate what we wouldn't tolerate? There's been over 1,000 missiles shot into Israel. Since their founding, people have been trying to kill them all. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis have one thing in common. They're all funded by Iran. All the weapons come from the Iranians.
Regime change.
What is this all about? Killing the Jews. And eventually us, and dominating the world religiously. If you think that's weird, then you need to get on the internet and listen to what they're doing. You need to watch their behavior, and they mean what they say, and don't be like the people in the 30s that got it wrong. Israel's not going to let it get it wrong the second time. Donald Trump. God bless President Donald J. Trump. I am so glad he won. What has he tried to do? Make peace, not war. He gave the Ayatollah 60 days to find a peaceful settlement regarding their enrichment program.
Hold on a minute, Lindsey. Now you're being hypocritical. You just said the Ayatollahs cannot rule the country. They got to go. And now you're telling us that Donald Trump stopped the war for peace. But still, the Ayatollah is in charge. So why are you supporting Donald Trump's move when it kind of goes against your regime change insistence? It has to happen.
They could have nuclear power, but they can't enrich. There are 20 nations that have nuclear power that get the fuel for their reactors outside their country. We would have done that for Iran. They were tapping him along. 61 days go by, and the rest is history. They're not interested in peace. They're interested in fulfilling a religious agenda that has no place for us or the state of Israel. Hitler didn't want peace. There was not a part of the country you could give him to stop him from enacting his sick and twisted agenda.
Right, so there's no difference between Hitler and the Ayatollah. They both want exactly the same thing. They both want the Jews gone, dead. Right? And I'll say it again. At the end of World War II, Hitler was ousted. No more. At the end of the Israel-Iran war, the Ayatollah is still in power. That is not a win. That is not anything to be proud of. Until there is regime change in Iran, until Iran is secular again, there is no peace.
He didn't want German-speaking populations. He wanted the entire world to speak German. He wanted the entire world to fall under his Nazi regime. He was nuts. And it took a bunch of people from all over the world, particularly America, to destroy the Third Reich, and about 60 million people died because we got it wrong in the 30s. 6 million Jews. We're not going to let that happen again as long as I'm around, the presiding officer, President Trump, and the people of Israel. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to stick with Israel because sticking with them is helping us. They're fighting the people that want to kill us as much as they want to kill all the Jews. Their fight, in my view, is our fight. Operation Midnight Hammer. After day 60, all the negotiations went nowhere because the Iranians didn't want them to go anywhere. President Trump acted. And it was brilliant, it was bold, and it will live in history. To all those who took part in this, God bless you. We have the finest military on earth. We proved that yet again. But you can have the best military if you don't have the right commander-in-chief. Nothing happens. We got the right commander-in-chief married up with the strongest military in history, which will make us safer. We're not looking to take over Iran. We're not looking to invade Iran. We're looking to make sure that the fanatics who run Iran can't hurt us and can't destroy our friends in Israel. And President Trump did something about it. He sent B-2s to Guam, and everybody thought, well, what's that all about? Well, they missed the other B-2s that went to Iran and put a hurting on these 3 enrichment sites. To the pilots, to the air crews, to everybody involved, well done. I spent 30-something years in the Air Force, and I've never been more proud. Fly, fight, win. Now, what's next?
Fly, fight, win.
They shot missiles at our air base in Qatar. The Iranians did today. About 16 or 19.
Regime
One
change.
may have gotten through. I think they called us. But just remember what I said. They shot missiles at us today. They shot missiles at Israel last night. The strikes a couple of days ago were designed to shut down the enrichment facilities used to make this weapons-grade uranium. I think we're substantially successful. I've never been more proud of President Trump and our military, and I think we set back their nuclear program substantially. But here's what we didn't do. We didn't change their desire for a nuclear weapon. We changed the capability to make one. Here's my goal, is to have people in charge of Iran who don't want a nuclear weapon to destroy Israel, who will not be the largest state sponsor of terrorism, but live in peace with their neighbors and have a good relationship with the United States. That's what I want. And if you don't want that, there's something wrong with you. How do you get that? two ways. The religious fanatics reject their agenda. They change their behavior. Maybe that'll happen, I don't know. Or you change the people, and you replace the religious fanatics with people in Iran who do not want to destroy the world, who do not want to create a master religion, who want to live in peace. And I think that's the vast majority of the Iranians. If we get this right, stick with Israel, stand up to this bully, this religious fanatical regime, let Israel do what they need to do, then I think peace is coming. The presiding officer and myself went to Saudi Arabia and Israel to talk about Saudi Arabia recognizing the Jewish state under certain conditions. Before the attack of October 7th, we were very close to expanding the Abraham Accords to include a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel that basically would end the Arab-Israeli conflict. An amazing moment in history. October the 7th comes along, a vicious, brutal attack on Israel by Hamas, which is fully funded by Iran, raping women, killing children in front of the parents, and doing things that we really don't need to be talking about on the floor. That was designed to stop reconciliation between Saudi Arabia and Israel, because for the Iranian fanatical regime, the worst nightmare is for the Arab world to make peace with Israel and move toward the light. These people want darkness for the world. So what do we do now? Israel has had it. I talked to the Prime Minister yesterday before I went on television, and I asked him, what would you like me to tell America, Bibi? He said three things. We're profoundly grateful to the American people for what you do to help the Jewish state. We couldn't be here without you. We're profoundly grateful to President Trump for his strong leadership. He also wanted me to urge the people of Iran to seize the moment to end the nightmare you've been living. And the third thing he wanted me to tell the American people is Israel is not going to live this way anymore. They're not going to raise their children in bomb shelters. They're not going to have their life interrupted daily by ballistic missiles coming from religious Nazis who want to kill all the Jews like Hitler. They're not going to put up with that. Regime change is coming to Iran one or two ways. The regime renounces what they've been doing since 1979 and change course, or it's replaced. To expect Israel to do anything else is offensive to me. You're asking Israel to accept normal being attacked every day and every night by over 500 ballistic missiles? Over 24 Israeli citizens have been killed. The missiles going into Israel are designed to kill children. The attack by the Israelis are designed to shut down the regime's nuclear capability. But the targets are changing. They're now going after the police force that keeps the Ayatollah in power, the intelligence services that scare people into submission, the prisons that house dissidents. Israel has made a faithful decision to go to the heart of this regime, to take these religious Nazis down one way or the other, reject Nazism in the form of religion, or get new people. And I am with them. I'm with them to the bitter end.
Me too.
I'm with them because being with them is in your own interest if you're an American. Being with them is in your own interest if you believe in religious tolerance. Being with Israel means you reject a regime that would take a 16-year-old girl off the bus and beat her to death because she didn't have a head cover. This is evil we're fighting. These are as evil as the Nazis. 80 years later, we're having a debate about what the Jewish people should do to a group that wants to kill them all? Really?
Really?
We're debating among ourselves what is too much against a regime trying to build dozens of nuclear weapons to blow people off the planet they don't like or agree with? What kind of world are we living in? To all those who want to hold Israel back, what would you do if it were our country? Would you hold us back? If you tried to, we'd run you over. We're not going to live this way as Americans. So what is this all about? I'm going to end where I began. It's about a fanatical regime that took over the country by force, that started out imprisoning Americans, been trying to build nuclear bombs, multiple nuclear bombs, has been the largest state sponsor of terrorism since 1984, has American blood on its hands, has attacked Israel over and over and over again, has suppressed its own people. It's about a religious agenda. Why do they do what they do? Religious, fanatical beliefs, a master religion for the world. And if you don't believe that, you have missed a lot. That's what they want, and the only way they're not going to get there is for somebody to stop them. What did Hitler want? To take over the entire world and create a master race. Anybody that didn't fit his definition of the right kind of person was imprisoned or killed. The Ayatollah and his henchmen have that same view, but it's religiously driven. So what happens in the next few days is going to determine the course of history for the state of Israel and the region for decades to come. To our friends in Israel, finish the job. Do what you have to do to bring about the regime change that will allow your children to sleep through the night. To the American people, wake up. Understand what we're fighting. The Ayatollah is not normal. These are not normal people. Stand with Israel. Standing with Israel, you're standing by you're helping your own self. You're helping your own families. I'll make a prediction. Israel's going to win, and this regime's going to fall. This regime's going to fall of its own weight. The people in Iran are going to have a chance, as the regime gets weakened, to rise up and take back their own lives. I don't know when that day's coming, but it's coming soon. I believe that. I believe the day of reckoning is here for the religious Nazis running Iran, that their terrorism is coming to an end. And it's going to be replaced by a region that moves together, where Sunnis and Shias and Israelis and all different groups, Christians, work together to build economies where all boats rise. We live in a time of choosing. I choose to stand up to evil. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.
Wow. Okay. Anyway, you get the gist of it, right? Religious Nazis still rule Iran, and the job is not done. Can you imagine if at the end of the Second World War, Hitler still ruled Germany? It's inconceivable. Yet, in exactly the same situation on the other side of the world, religious Nazis rule Iran, Israel, a Jewish state, and the United States, a Christian state, go to war against the Muslim ayatollahs, and for all intents and purposes, because the ayatollahs, the religious Nazis, are still in power, they win. Up to now. So it's really time to get the hell rid of them, okay? So that's it for now. I'm going to be back with another look at Christian. I'm actually going to teach the Christians something about Christianity coming up real soon. So stay tuned for that. See you next time. Right. Okay, we've got to get ready for G-Man and Rebuke and Rebuked, whatever his name is. I can't remember.